Just let me know, you ready?
Ready when you are.
Okay, looks like we're recording.
Good evening. I now call to order the Commission on Aging regular meeting of June 8th, 2023. I'd like to provide information on how the public can provide comment, either by phone or by Zoom. So participants will be ready to respond during public comment time. To join the meeting for public comment, please go to zoom.us or call 1-699-900-6833 and enter webinar ID 838-6037-9144, passcode 387339. Juanita, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Veronica,
Present.
Linda,
Present.
Marion, excused absent, Tammy, present, Bill.
Here.
Dana, excused absent, John.
John.
Here.
Norman.
Here. The public is welcome at this time to address the Commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the Commission's scope. There will be an opportunity to comment on other agenda items at the time they are discussed. Please note that this is the same login information for all public comment on other items on the agenda, and the information is included on the agenda. To make a public comment in person, please fill out the comment card and give it to the staff liaison, which would be Juanita. To make a comment on Zoom, please log into or call directly into the meeting by going to zoom.us or call 1-699-900-6833. And do you need me to go through the webinar ID and all that again?
It's good to do. Just in
Okay.
case somebody's trying to do it while
Okay,
we're remote.
then enter webinar ID 838-6037-9144, passcode 387339. Commenters will remain as attendees until it's time for public comment. Once you're let into the meeting, please use the Zoom raise hand feature or press *9 to raise your hand on the phone to speak. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, whether in person or on Zoom. Juanita, do you have any public comment cards?
Not at this time.
I got a message from the public saying that they're not able to log into Zoom.
Oh,
They're just only able to log into the YouTube stream.
oh,
So nobody can raise their hand.
They're not able to log into Zoom,
to Zoom.
but they can see it streaming live.
It said that Zoom is not working. It says the meeting has not yet started.
Maybe it hadn't that, or did, what time did it say that?
Oh, let's see. You're right. Wow, we have a member of the public.
Yeah, somebody's watching.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So we were recording even though we weren't started. That was interesting that it let me do that. So, okay,
Okay.
let's try again.
Okay,
Members of
want
the
me to start
public,
over?
at least maybe just to say that one section again, just in case.
About the,
Because they want, but they might just want to see it, not necessarily, but I don't see, oh, now I see. Ah, okay. Oh, okay, it's just our staff so far.
oh,
So
okay.
if anybody else from the public.
Well, somebody who's trying to
I think one of the members of the I found that the diversity commission wanted to introduce yourself.
Oh,
So I do have someone trying.
Other people are logged in, so to try and get.
okay, so where do you want me to go back to? If
If they don't have the agenda, then it's probably good to just go ahead and just say what the Zoom ID and passcode are one more time.
Okay, to make a public comment on Zoom, please log into or call directly into the meeting by going to zoom.us or call 1-699-900-6833 and enter webinar ID 838-6037-9144, passcode 387339. Commenters will remain as attendees until it's time for public comment. Once you're let into the meeting, please use the Zoom raise hand feature or press *9 to raise your hand on the phone to speak. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, whether in person or on Zoom. Juanita, I guess no public comment cards, but do we have
I
any
do have-
commenters waiting?
There is, we do have a hand raised.
Awesome.
And so now I will, you're okay, I'm gonna allow this person.
Okay.
Yeah. Shauna? Can you hear us?
Hi, everyone. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. I hope you can hear me. I am
Yes.
on my phone. Okay. I am just, I know I'm not on the agenda, but I just wanted to introduce myself. Jana Thompson. I am the liaison from the Diversity Commission. And I'm joining today's meeting to listen in and hear how we can collaborate together to work with and support our residents of Pilgrim Hill. That is all.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any others, Juanita?
No.
Okay. Agenda item number 4 is to approve the May 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Commissioners, please take this time to review the minutes if you haven't already. We'll give you a second. Are there any commenters on this item?
My recollection is that in the section for review and update of activities, articles and events, that there are a couple of differences that I think I've checked with some of the other commissioners on. Where it says from Commissioner Music on grief, I think that should read grief during the holidays.
Okay,
And then the last sentence, rather than social isolation,
Yes.
that was also going to be grief during the holidays. So a newsletter article and then an event or workshop at the seniors.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Any other?
Any other comments on the minutes? Anyone from the public have comments on the minutes? No?
Okay, this will be, I guess, what was suggested.
Roy seconds it, Van Akron seconds it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who was it first?
Clea.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
Commissioner Clea moved and Lorna Van Akron seconded.
Thank you.
Do ayes, please raise your hands. Any noes? Not anybody left? And no abstentions? And 2 missing, two not here.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the minutes from the last meeting are passed. And now we have oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I did offer public comment.
You sure did.
Okay, I don't want to miss that. Item number 5 is update on housing from City Planner Troy Fujimoto. Troy, are you on?
He is, and I'm going to invite him in, and it looks like, yes. We've also got, anyway.
So while he's joining us, at the last commission meeting, it was requested that our city planner provide an update on housing in Pleasant Hill and be available to answer questions that commissioners may have regarding current and future options for affordable housing, and in particular, senior housing and other questions commissioners may have. And then joining us today via Zoom is Troy Fujimoto, city planner, to provide an update. Welcome, Troy.
Good evening.
There you are.
Thank you, Community Commission on Aging. It's a pleasure to be here. Juanita, I don't know, do you actually see me or you just hear me?
I only hear you. Do you have a camera?
Yeah, I don't know what, I used the, anyway, I mean, I used the link and I don't know why the video is not showing, but.
Oh, wait. Oh, no.
That's just
That's not.
mine, yeah, I don't want to do that, so, huh. I don't know why you're not coming in that way. And, let me see if there's any other options here. Promote the panelist. Okay, let's try that. Now you're joining as a panelist.
Not showing.
There you go.
I see you now.
And I see that Haley is also, should she be promoted in or just, is she on standby?
She's on standby because I wasn't sure if I could,
Okay.
for
Thank
various
you.
reasons, So
Thank you.
it looks like I have a white orb behind me that, don't mind that. Sorry about that. But it's a pleasure to be here. Maybe if there you go. Okay. So thank you for having me here. I believe the Commission on Aging was looking for an update on housing. I can give you an update, at least for what I can provide as far as an update for the city. I think in general, I would note that just so everyone understands, I think historically the city has had a separate housing division, and that was back in the day when there was a redevelopment agency. That went away in about 2011, and so did our capabilities for redevelopment, and our separate housing division went away. So our housing division has been rolled into planning over time, and so essentially that's where it stands. We are not like other cities. Other cities, bigger cities, have a whole housing program and a whole housing department, and they do a lot of great things, but it's just the situation of this city itself. So historically, that's where we have been, and that's where we are. Up to more current updates. So I'm hopeful that you're all aware that the city recently went through a housing element process, which is essentially, for those not familiar, every 8 years, the state of California calls them housing element cycles. And every 8 years, every jurisdiction in California has to do a housing element, essentially to provide opportunities for housing throughout the city. It's a statewide process, so every region has their fair share, and then within each region, in this case, the whole Bay Area, if you will, it's then the fair share numbers and distributed to cities. And in a nutshell, the city has to provide locations for where our fair share of housing can be located in the city. And this past cycle, our housing numbers went up to 1,803. Our previous cycle, it was in the 400s. So it was a very long and challenging process. We are still not done. We did get our city council did adopt a housing element, a draft housing element, if you will. We have to submit that housing element to the state of California, specifically the Housing and Community Development Department. And they are the sole body, if you will, that reviews and certifies housing element for every jurisdiction in the state of California. So we had already submitted once at the end of last year. We received comments from HCD. We then revised the housing element, and we recently resubmitted back to HCD in hopes that they will certify it, and we will have a certified housing element going forward. As part of that housing element, in addition to citing the 1,800 units that I noted, it's a very extensive analysis of housing in general. For this particular cycle, there were a lot of new requirements from the state, but in addition to the increase in housing, one of the new components of the housing element that was presented for cities to address is called Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing, AFFH. In a nutshell, what that is the state wanted to see cities and jurisdictions to not only provide opportunities for housing, but to also make sure that cities are addressing fair housing issues. In simplest terms, one of the things that the state is looking at is to ensure that affordable housing is put in areas of the city that, how they term it, as higher resource, and not putting affordable housing in areas of lower resource. And that could range anything from surrounding environmental impacts or income levels or access to parks and schools. But the state wanted to see fair housing issues resolved as part of this element. And so when the city went and did their housing element, we had to look at locations that weren't just necessarily housing sites, but we had to make sure that they were addressing fair housing issues and making sure that these locations were in areas that were of a higher resource. And so it was a very challenging process that we went through, and largely because of just the sheer increase in numbers of housing that we had to cite for. The housing element, a very thick and extensive document. It has goals, policies, and programs. If you don't know where it is, we recently updated the latest version on our pleasanthill2040.com website. And right on that front page, there is a link to the latest draft housing element version. So if you have some time to spend, you could pop that open and read a whole bunch of information about housing for the city of Pleasant Hill. And it addresses a wide variety. It addresses affordable housing, housing in general. It addresses fair housing issues. It addresses senior housing. It addresses special needs housing, emergency housing. So it's the full array of housing that every jurisdiction should be addressing. It even goes into farm worker housing. So it's got a pretty wide breadth of information related to housing. And essentially that's going to be our playbook, if you will, going forward, specifically related to housing. The housing element is very special in the state, as it's the only element, it's an element of our general plan, and our general plan is our larger document that essentially governs everything that the city does. But the housing element itself is required to be updated every 8 years. And so in another 7.5 years, we'll be revisiting our housing element again. But there is heightened interest from the state with the housing element, because the state does want to see jurisdictions approve housing, and not just housing, but housing of all income levels and of all varieties that are needed. So that's kind of the purpose of the housing element. It's not that the city has to build housing, but the city has to provide opportunities for where this fair share of housing could be located in the city. The whole purpose of the housing element in general is to provide a pathway for housing in the state of California at the local level. So that's the state's way of trying to address the perpetual housing crisis that the state of California seems to be in. But just to be clear, the city does not have to build it. We are not in the house building business, but it's just a document that appropriately plans for a fair share of housing. Outside of that, we have approved a couple of housing projects within the last 2 to 3 years. Many of them are under construction. There's the 85 Cleveland project right down the road from you. I'm assuming maybe not, but you've seen the old bank building been demolished, and they're now building 189 units. I think they're finishing up the 2 levels of underground parking. There's another project at 401 Taylor that's being built for housing. There was a recent project that was approved, which is the satellite affordable housing project at 490 Golf Club. That was affordable senior housing. They are essentially trying to get all of their financing in order, and they should be starting up soon, hopefully, in terms of actually starting construction. So those are some of the bigger projects. There's, of course, other smaller houses, if you will, that we approve, 1 or 2 subdivisions. The state of California, in addition to the housing element, has also essentially passed laws, maybe you've heard of them, called SB 9, which is essentially what people think to be the end of single family housing, because SB 9 essentially is a state law that took effect this past year, and essentially allows subdivisions to occur in almost any circumstance in any single family development. And it allows 2-unit projects to occur on single family zones, hence the loss of single family housing, because now you can have 2 units on there. That's something that's relatively new. We do have people that are starting to explore what that is and how they can do that. We have a couple in with the city that's currently under review. More close to what you may have seen, and maybe some of you have them, are the ongoing accessory dwelling unit provisions that the state seems to update every year, essentially allowing a property to add an accessory dwelling unit, if you will, essentially adding another unit on a smaller unit, if you will, onto the property. The state really believes that these accessory dwelling units address a very critical need for housing, and especially at the affordable level. And to be honest, we've seen a lot of residents, property owners here in the city that have done accessory dwelling units. So it does seem to be working. It's providing additional residences throughout the city, and these are primarily in single family residential neighborhoods. So the state, they do think that accessory dwelling units are a relatively quick and easy way to get additional units in single family residential neighborhoods. And they continuously update provisions related to accessory dwelling units, making it easier and providing more leeway in terms of what people can build. So I presume next year we'll have some more updates, but it seems every year they have been updating provisions related to accessory dwelling units. So that is a summary of housing. There are a multitude of housing laws that are in addition to SB 9 and accessory dwelling units that I mentioned. A lot of them are related to being in proximity to transit. They're tied to affordable housing. There's distinct parameters that have to be met to trigger them. In general, the state has passed additional laws that help to streamline housing. One of those are called SB 330, Senate Bill 330, Senate Bill 35. Both of those essentially provide a streamlined process for housing in cities, provided that certain provisions are met. So the state is certainly doing what they can do to streamline housing in the state of California. So, and we are seeing the fruits of their laws, as we do see applications that come in that are essentially under these provisions. There's also density bonus, but I don't know if I need to get into that, but essentially the density bonus is another state law that allows density to be increased, provided that a certain level of affordability is provided in the project. So that's my summary. I don't necessarily want to kind of drone on all the many laws that the state has passed, because they are passing a lot and they continue to pass them. It's a challenge just to stay on top of all the things that the state of California is doing related to housing.
Thank you. Yes, Lorna.
I have two questions. One question is, do you know how many ADU units are now in the city of Pleasant Hill at this time?
I don't know specific numbers, but I'm going to guess of recent, within the past 3 years, we've probably been averaging 25 units a year. So within the past 3 years, we've probably had about 75 to 90 ADUs throughout the city, but there's more than that for sure.
So those units go towards the number that the state of California has given us, 1,800?
No, it depends when. So if they were finalized after summer of 2022, then we do get credit. But those that were built prior to that, we do not get credit. Those were given credit to us in the last cycle. So anything going forward, we do get credit for that.
And then my second question, based on what I know the city parameters are of Pleasant Hill, is it realistic that we can do 1,800 houses in the next 8 years? Where the land is?
You know, a lot of it is driven by the market. So to be honest, if demand is there, then I'm sure there's a higher propensity to do that. But if the demand's not there or interest rates continue to skyrocket, it becomes difficult for builders, because that's really who's doing it, is the private sector and builders. 1,800 seems to me to be a really big number. I don't know if we can do it, but I wouldn't say that we wouldn't be able to produce 1,800 units over the next 7.5 years. But to me, it seems like a lot of units, and it just seems like a lot historically from what we've seen.
Thank you.
I have a question too. Did I understand you to say the first draft of this that you submitted to the state was rejected? The first plan?
Correct. They did not certify it, and they sent us a 9-page comment letter pointing out what they believe were deficiencies in the first draft that we had sent to them.
Can you give us an idea of what those were, just in general?
I think in general, a lot of the comments were they had wanted more information regarding the content in our housing element. I think they wanted more information, more background information regarding permit fees and process, that type of filler information. They also did not agree initially with our production of accessory dwelling units. We had initially said 40 and they had said it was more like 10. We went back and forth. We settled on 25. They also had concerns with our housing opportunity sites. They had essentially a comment that some of the sites that we selected did not appear to satisfy affirmatively furthering fair housing issues related to where they were located and the affordable levels. And so that particular comment forced the city to go back and look at new housing opportunity sites because the state was essentially saying there was definitively one site that they did not agree with. And in general, they had concerns with some of the other sites. So we had to go back and revise some of our housing sites.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you so much. This is very helpful.
All right, no problem. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Troy. That was great. The survey update, item 6, was going to be John updating us on the
Right.
survey, but does anyone else have an update? Do you want me to by any chance know?
I know that John did do a draft of summary, but he didn't have time to proofread it before today. He had indicated he was going to be here, but I'm just checking to see if he let me know anything differently. So I think he'll be able to present it at the next meeting.
Okay.
He just wanted to verify the numbers because he
Yeah.
got the first draft done, and I just wanted to,
How much longer does that survey go?
it's done.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah, so
we're just looking
The
at,
conclusion was, yeah, May 31st, and then he just got the results when was it, Monday or Tuesday? So
okay,
he hasn't had a lot of time.
no, he hasn't, okay, we'll put that on the next agenda. And then, the ice cream project for Tinkers and Thinkers, discussion and action.
Yeah, just as a reminder to the other commissioners, this ice cream project's been going on for a number of years, just to use the thought process of the idea around it. And so this upcoming year, we are going to be at Tinkers and Thinkers. I presented last time that we were thinking about 4 different activities within Tinkers and Thinkers. So one is the ice cream in a bag, the other one is building popsicle and closed-in structures, and the third one was these wooden cutouts of ice cream that gives the color of the messages on it. We'll deliver to various city facilities after we get them back. And then the fourth one was the free popsicle handout as well. And so we did meet with both the Pleasant Hill Library, Patrick, and the Pleasant Hill Rec Park, Jennifer, and with John and Dana as well too. And we had a discussion, so it's one of the reports of the commission that's good news. So we have all agreed to do all 4 activities. We're going to focus on the 3 that are specifically the activity that we want the senior volunteers to focus on. The free ice cream or popsicle giveaway will sort of be the entire Christmas, so we're going to sort of plan for 2,000 obstacles. And so, got all 4 components of that, which I think we're happy with. And so we'll go ahead and move forward with that. That sort of locked in our funding goal. And so we, based on all that, we're estimating somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2,500 that we're going to need. We have already about 1,500 in donations. Just put in for a grant from the Pleasant Hill Community Foundation. They do a lot of grants for projects around the city. So we put in for $1,000 grant, and Dana submitted that, and so we haven't heard back yet. So we'll see. My expectation that we'll probably fundraise a little bit more, just to be sure. That's kind of where we're at right now. It's not until September, so we have a little bit of time. We already started gathering supplies and those types of things, so I think we're okay with that. President-elect is holding the funds in a special account for us, and so as we've gotten the donations, we'll be holding those, so we can expand those once we get closer to the event.
Okay,
Thank you.
We saw yes.
that's okay.
September,
September 9th.
yeah, it's on my calendar. It's on my list.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of advertising, it's a pretty big event, and so it may come to well, we might have that.
And I think it's on the activities calendar too.
Yeah,
So we're excited about that. We'll this is sort of our first foray into this particular area. We were wanting to do this because of the intergenerational aspect of it, is tends to be focused on the younger kids. And then Dana and a couple others will be on a number of senior volunteers, senior ambassadors to help facilitate learning and sort of that interaction. So we are hoping that this will really create a nice environment for that intergenerational activities and action.
any questions from anyone else?
Good win.
Can I just jump in, Shauna, can you hear okay?
Yes, I can hear it okay. If Kui could speak up just a little bit louder, but everyone else I can hear fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So any comments from commissioners or the public? Anybody raising their hands out there?
No hands raised.
No hands were raised. So is there an action for us to take on this one? Or any vote or anything?
I don't believe there's any action at this juncture.
No.
I think the only thing we're potentially considering, and then you have talked about this before, is that if there's a potential gap, we might come back to the city to request some funds. Yeah, but I'm hopeful that we can get it either through the grants and the donations, or we'll have to come back to the city. But if we do this stuff, we're not sure of the committee, then I think that might require action.
Okay.
Or we do.
The money, the grant that Dana put together or submitted, is that the one with the Pleasant Hill Senior Center money? You know, cause I know they have money too,
No, it's a community foundation.
community foundation.
Let me different.
Okay,
So we so she put together the original application, and then I edited it, and John had some comments as well too, and it's gonna kind of set it around, and we set it off as a little cross our fingers.
Okay.
I think their maximum is $1,000 grant for these different projects. Yeah, just ask for that.
Okay, good.
And I'll report if we get it around next time.
Okay. So, now close the comments on this item. If we're ready to move on, we'll probably need this on the agenda next time again. Probably every month.
Yeah, until it happens, probably.
Yeah, okay. And we would be able to update this next time too, okay? Okay, the 2023 commission activities, articles, and events calendars.
Yes.
Juanita.
I'm gonna attempt to share. I think this is what you were all looking for last time. Possibly. Yep. Okay,
Okay.
great. So, this, just as an update, we did get the article from Lorna, thank you, and Tammy was
Good, thank you,
instrumental in proofreading it, and so that was submitted for the upcoming Outlook article. And then what I did just add, I thought we were gonna be looking at the draft results, but we'll move that to the next meeting. So for July, there was the question that was still on there about doing a workshop, Lorna, and is that still a possibility, or
Yeah,
is it too late now, or?
well, my one concern is I should have had the date for this particular spotlight, right?
Yes, and they are in
Yeah.
the final stages of putting together the newsletter, so I mean, if you have a date tomorrow, we could maybe still get it in. If you had a facility and could identify that, but if that's, you know, if you would know what you're gonna promote, or even if it's just a very small couple of sentences to visit a website or something, to visit the webpage.
At the bottom of my article.
Yeah, maybe have something,
Yeah.
if you have a date, or if you want, maybe just having add a sentence that just says, you know, workshop pending, you know, date to be determined, please go to our website, not as effective, but it's something, you know, to go look at our webpage. But that's, but you have a venue first.
Okay, I will, work on that with Holly, and hopefully I'll get back to you.
Okay, if it can happen, and then if not, it'll just have to be pushed to a different month.
Yeah, that's true. If we do push it July, it'd be October, that would be the June, July, August, September, so the August, September issue.
It's September, October would be the next issue. Articles are due July, August 1st, sorry.
I will work on it for tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, we'll try to get it. Okay.
So do we have enough time, if we have a date in July,
Yeah.
do we have enough time to get people there?
Well, that would be the advertisement that we would do.
Right, and then the
I
registration.
guess the question is, how difficult is it in July to get people to come out for things?
Well, it's hard to say now with post-COVID.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, I guess. That's the point too.
We don't have anything else on the agenda for July at this point, right?
Right.
Okay. We'll try to make that happen for July.
It's
Right.
important, people will come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and yeah,
I think people want to do things, and I think.
that's a
events,
very good point, yeah.
Are trying to pick up more, so. It's important, people.
And if it's important to them
Yeah.
specifically.
As long
Yeah.
as people are down.
Right, as long as you have.
Yeah, well, we do have the senior bulletin, and we do have,
Yeah, which brings up a question I had about, I picked this copy up at the library in May. My neighborhood never got one in the mail, and I didn't know.
Really?
So I have heard from a couple of people that has happened, and we've checked in with the post office because they've gotten to the post office at plenty of times.
Yeah, and I
so-
get pictures every day of what's to be expected, and it's never been in
Yeah,
my
so you did,
expected mail.
okay,
Very frustrating.
yeah.
Months for my article.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's parts of the city, there's parts of the city that pick it up, or give it sort of a semi-authority.
Yeah.
So that makes, well, then the other thing I noted is that, and I've noted and I've gotten home, is oftentimes dates for things have already passed by the
By
time
the time we get it,
we
yes,
get the outlook.
yes.
So
So the,
I'm
the,
concerned
the
about that.
intention is to try to get it delivered by like July 1, because there's some, 4th of July activities that we want to make sure that people learn about. So, you know, so I was, I try so hard to keep these deadlines and to get the information in, because here it is, you know, June 8th. And our editor needs some time to work with it, and it still needs to be printed, and it needs to be, and so, just.
Right, I'm just
But, yeah, it is.
concerned about getting that information using this
Yeah.
when.
Yeah, well, it's still a wonderful source, and it does get to a lot of
I didn't
people.
get that one. No, I
Yeah.
didn't want
We
to hear
had
that.
we
I
had
did
a couple
not get that
articles
one.
in that one. Page two.
Okay, thank you for that.
If I hadn't got a library report, I would never have seen it.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
The major.
So that's July, and then August, Outlook article, September, Tinkers and Thinkers is the ice cream project, October. another
Well,
article.
see, Tinkers and Thinkers, I'm just thinking about, promoting that, but that's already happening at
That's already
Dragon Park, so we've
Yeah.
got that pretty much
It's
everything.
ready, we're gonna be part of it, so whatever teachers and teachers marketing that they're gonna do, that's gonna be part of it. And I think just for us as a commission, we just say that they're sponsoring some activities and,
Mhm.
but they got their own budgets.
Okay. And they've got their own pages in the outlet, so.
And then we haven't gone any further than October. Is
Right,
that right? Okay,
And that October date is really.
November, December.
it's for the November,
It's not-
December outlet,
It's not
right,
something happening.
Right.
Except during the.
that's just the deadline, right.
Okay.
And then if you decide to do a workshop, that's like great.
I think if we did a workshop, then it would be early December, probably, that's.
Do you think early December, not early November?
I'm gonna try to.
Think.
I would suggest following the early December, because I did workshops during the early December. Pretty early, well, post-COVID, when we were here on the hill, we were very successful. So as I shared with you, I could do some collaboration with them.
Oh,
Because that's my
Great.
area.
That'd be great.
And you're thinking what time again?
Probably, let's say maybe the first week of December.
First week of December?
Yeah.
Great.
How did you work it great during the holidays?
Yeah.
And then I would add to that, not only grief during the holidays, but coping strategies during the holidays. Because I myself will be dealing with grief during the holidays, because my husband was somebody like that. So that would be applicable to me as well. So what are your coping mechanisms as you deal with that, go through it, and the aftermath of that? So how do you cope and center yourself and keep yourself grounded during this?
And so this is just a placeholder to remind us that there is an activity, and then you define it from there, so, okay.
Great,
And so it's gonna be done.
okay. Any other comments on the calendar or anything else you want to add in?
It's busy, pretty busy time.
It looks like plenty, yeah.
We've steadily increased over the years. Activities, like, this is pretty busy.
Well, and then just to go a little further down, and these are just optional things in the future, potentially, some things that you've done in the past. And I put a social isolation workshop, but you mentioned that that's not what we meant, the grief workshop.
Well,
But now we've got a date for it, so I'm taking it off this to be determined.
something social isolation could be
Part of.
something we look at.
Yeah.
That somehow,
That's
Yeah,
a,
there could be an additional layer.
I
that's
brought
really a
the,
different topic. It really is.
this, the Surgeon General has identified social isolation as a key
That is
factor that,
obesity.
and I just thought I'd share this article, and I'm not sure what it makes sense for us to do around that. One idea is, do we want to try to even inventory what organizations are doing anything to address that, or,
There's a lot of talk about it.
So we're doing some of that, yeah. Not, but some of it with the ice cream project, since that we're inviting those who are able to the actual events so that they could, interact with kids and families and stuff, that's part of it. And then the delivery of those messages during the Grandparents' Day and this month, as part of a way to say, we're still thinking about you here in the city, even if you're not physically able to come to this particular event. Make sure that you know and understand that there are people still thinking about you, even if you're out So that's one way I think we're trying to address that particular topic, but I hear you, I think you're right, that probably needs a better awareness or understanding of what our city's needs are, our seniors in the city's needs, and then what kinds of things we can do with the city to use to help address that.
Well, it's also how to break through it, because social isolation, by definition, the individual is isolated. And just inviting them to come to this ice cream social or ice cream event is not gonna get them out the door. And I don't have an answer for that. That's why I say there's an awful lot of talk about it, but I don't hear a lot of solutions.
The book delivery is another way. It's actually good for the social isolation.
What is?
There's a book delivery service happening in the city of Pleasantville.
Oh, yeah.
From the library.
Any
Books
interaction.
delivered to
Yeah,
homebound.
Meals on Wheels too, I suppose.
Meals on Wheels has always been that always, that's been traditionally promoted for that, as well as the food, that drivers are pretty good about getting to know people,
Yeah,
watching,
yeah.
Well,
I don't know if there's a wait list for Meals on Wheels. Oftentimes there's a wait list, there's not always enough on to
I don't even,
have a check later.
We're pretty good right now.
Are we?
well, I want to end with social isolation, that's what leads to depression and anxiety, right? Because of mental health professional,
absolutely.
an adult program. So that's why my focus is mental health and common. So that's why workshops are heavy dose around that, that's why we're out in communities. So with that, I feel like if we do a workshop, going back to that, we need to make hybrid where it is via Zoom as well as in person.
Yes.
Because oftentimes some persons have mobility issues, caregiver issues, where they're not able to get out to attend venues. So it's important that when we do that, we do it a hybrid style, right?
Yep.
And then that allow persons to talk about what they're doing to deal with their isolation, this correlating to depression and anxiety and various other mental health, personality disorders. So it's important that when we do it, we have a hybrid, where they can do either or.
Yeah.
And then if this is something that we want to tackle as a topic, once we start, we have to go through a series. It's gotta be a series. You can't start it and stop it.
Right, one of my concerns too, you touched on, inviting someone who's not gonna go social or whatever to the senior center, we have organizations that regularly invite people out. Is that if someone's gotten to that point where they're depressed and alone, they may not have the moral gumption, I don't know what we're doing,
Yeah.
is to actually leave
Inclination,
that
yeah.
house,
Yeah.
inclination, they're so down. How do you promote, say, neighbors checking on neighbors?
Well, I
Within
think
neighborhoods,
even
you know?
before that, how do we identify
Right,
where the problem is? How do we even know?
exactly,
Who
we've
they
got a lot of churches around that have their population they
Right.
check on or whatever, but once someone, my concern is once someone gets to that point where they're isolated and lonely, it's hard to break that barrier.
Yes.
Saw that a lot when I was working.
So with that, I would say that's.
Even knocks on the door, they don't answer.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's true, so with that, I would say that's not our area of scope, because you're not qualified or trained to do that, number one, that's a profession. That's why we have universities for persons that are trained in that category, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So I think the thing is, if you know someone, then you can check with them first to see if they're open to having conversations about hypothetically having a therapist via telehealth or something like that, or talking to a church member, or talking to a pastor. Because when you go out a certain realm, that's not our area of expertise.
That's services, if you're concerned about a neighbor.
Yes, so there's organizations that are in place that are properly trained to take it further, right?
Yeah.
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And doctors should be picking up on it too. Because
And that comes to
very often
communication
these
with
people have
families.
lots of specialists.
Caregiver organizations.
Yes, so those are trained organizations that are in place for that, but the thing is, a person has to have a family member or a neighbor or a person that attends church that will catch it before it gets into severe chronic depression.
Right, which is why I'm asking or brought up, maybe I didn't phrase it very well, how do we let people in the community know or encourage them to, check up on their parents? It doesn't have to be.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there. I'm
guess
just
we're
throwing
fine.
this around, I mean, maybe that's part of what to incorporate into a workshop or something.
And in the advertising.
Brainstorm.
Yeah, advertise it, put it on our website, the Commission on Aging, so we could just, I don't know what the protocol is, maybe we could just put a little blurb. If you're
Do you
feeling
know someone?
depressed or anxious, or if you know someone, reach out to 988, 211, or the various numbers that are established to help them, in that way they're an alias, they don't have to give their name, they don't have to give their number, they have a neutral party to talk to about what their experience. It's
So
all
loneliness line out there, it's 24/7, 300.
Yeah, so maybe.
And it's on our website,
Oh, it is already?
yeah, it's part of that brochure.
And well, maybe, like, we
I'm just brainstorming a little bit.
That's the next part, that's what you're saying.
What caught me was you made the comment about, that inviting someone that the ice cream so short, there's a barrier.
Yes.
Exists. And someone's lonely,
No, I don't wanna be around all those people.
Yeah,
Right, agoraphobia, you know, yeah, because of COVID, now they're isolated and they're afraid to go outside. That's agoraphobia, so yeah.
I think we're identifying, it's a multifaceted problem.
it is,
Uh-huh.
so I guess
So we're
that's,
not,
That's
we're
what
not
I
a
We're
commission,
not really qualified to
we're not a commission
fix it.
to fix all the societal problems.
Right, so they're not trying
And
to.
so we have to sort of focus, okay, what can we do? We're not the commission, frontline commission that has to sort of address the psychological problems that come along. We don't have the funds or
we don't have funds of
Yeah.
capacity.
to do those things. So what can we, so one of the things that we do well is we raise awareness, at least, that's
Yeah,
one way,
raise awareness,
that's part of it. And we can do surveys, so, saying, what is the state of, we can try to figure that out. And we can do things, and yes,
Yes.
not everybody's gonna come, but, I think there's an effort at least to do that, there's book delivery, there's this, because of the increase in our placement thing. But our senior center has a number of programs, travel programs, other things to get people out and about, they have their CC Cafe, there's a lot of people, and they just got a new grant, called just a social eating, basically, so that they can create a space for people to come and eat and so it's not that people are not trying, I think people are doing, but I think we just sort of have to, but as a commission, we can potentially do it, not necessarily fix these, the silo issue, because you read this article and say, this is a silo issue, right? It's an issue. We're not gonna do it to fix that, but we can at least focus on something that we can do. Maybe the start would be, let's just figure out what's going on for that.
Yes,
The survey, I might just need an easy start. And it may not, it may not be super complete, like our survey, but it gives hints as to what we can do.
Yeah.
And also going back to incorporating numbers that they can call to stay anonymous and share their thought processes, to just have a conversation with the person that's not judging them or shaming them, they don't have to feel ashamed.
Yeah.
To just share their experience. I think that's important, so that's just my opinion.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want me to put it on the agenda, if you are interested in ongoing conversation, what we could do, or just leave it on our activities calendar and we just take it at the time, or.
I wouldn't mind seeing that as an ongoing agenda, because I mean, just that this has been robust, just having this conversation just for these 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And we've done some,
The idea is a level of
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and we've done some communities on very specific topics, housing and other types of things. And so if it's when we do that in action, might sort of farm out to a subcommittee to kind of figure out what one or two things we do.
Yeah,
That might be a way to feel like we're addressing at least some people.
I like the subcommittee, I think.
But, yeah.
What,
Thanks for
what was the
filling
topic, what do we call it? How would it
Social
define
isolation?
it? Okay.
And then backing up, Juanita, to the point about doing a hybrid. We would need to do it here at the city hall because this senior center no longer has the capacity. My understanding is that you no longer have the capacity to do webinars on Zoom.
Yeah, well,
Right, right, yeah. So, going forward, and I think it's very important for the subject of grief and that to make it available to both in person and on Zoom, we would not be able to rely on the senior center for it. Because they can't do it, I don't know what it,
that space that they don't have
The tech-
platform.
yeah, which they used to, I took advantage of all the time.
Oh,
I think it'd be a good idea for all forthcoming workshops to be held in hybrid style. For
Oh,
those that can
yes.
attend in person and those that cannot, and that way they're not restricted from being a part of that community or event because they're not able to be present physically. I think it'd be important as a consideration, but we consider just not hybrid style every workshop moving forward, so we have the capacity. Yeah, I think so. Okay.
So then that's it, Sharon, if you want to, for only to put it as an agenda. item.
Agenda item for next-
Yeah, and
next
maybe
meeting.
make it as a statement to be considered, element of, subcommittees.
Sub-
That's what
Yeah, so social isolation, subcommittee, potentially,
Yeah.
for discussion.
Anything else on the events calendar? Commissioner liaison reports. Any commissioner liaison reports? Don't know who is what liaison for what at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
You're still on.
I'm trying to get my place in July for,
Yeah.
I know this is a big ask. But can you do it by tomorrow morning?
Oh, that, morning? Oh, I was thinking.
No, I just, the day, time.
Yeah.
No, it's CNA week is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
That's important.
No, Florida doesn't have any. Except that the agency, the advisory council on aging meeting is the first day of summer, which is Wednesday, June 21st, from 10 o'clock to 12, and it's held at the 500 Ellenwood
Does it count?
County Center, thank you. So anyone invited, everyone's invited to attend.
So this is the,
Advisory council on aging.
and they do a hybrid too. They do a Zoom, I think.
You know, now that we can't do these meetings on Zoom, I don't know that the county can either.
What meeting?
Don't you say that we have to physically be in attendance here now, correct?
But it's still open on Zoom for anybody that wants to watch.
Oh, I agree.
Not sure.
Yes, I'm not sure.
I think they are because the people on SmackDown, but that way I wasn't able to attend, so I
Okay.
don't know. Senior mobility functions. It's changed, this leadership's changed.
Yeah,
Oh,
500 Ellenwood Way.
yes.
yeah. Okay. Any other liaison reports or commissioner reports or comments? What liaisons do we have to what, other than,
I don't know, that might actually, if that might be something, we have, Jana is a liaison from the Diversity Commission, and I don't know if you have a report, Jana, or I think you indicated you were just listening in. If you're still there.
I'm still here. I was listening in, but I can take this opportunity to let you know about the Juneteenth celebration that is happening on Sunday, June 18th at City Hall. It will be the first Juneteenth celebration happening that Pleasant Hill is putting on, and the Diversity Commission has been working the past few months to put it together. And there's going to be Princess Tiana at 4:30, and then a band that will start to play 5:30 to 7:30, so live music and dancing. And so if you are capable of letting your friends and people know about it, or if you would like to come and join and celebrate with us, that would be wonderful. But it's my first time joining your meeting as a liaison, and I've only been on the Diversity Commission for like a month now. So learning all the rules.
18. Well, so I'll add on to that, the Meals on Wheels Diablo Region Gala is on June 10th, which is this weekend, isn't it?
Oh, that is Saturday.
Wait, I wasn't on my radar.
You'll.
Where is that?
Is going to be at Blackhawk, the auto museum, yes.
Oh,
I don't get those. I used to get it.
okay, anything else on that topic? Okay, any other announcements from any of you? We are just a little over, but not a lot, at 6:05. And so on that note, I'm going to adjourn until our next regular meeting on July 13th at 5 p.m., same location. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.